Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Starlight Beacon Transmissions Live. We are coming to you live from Starlight Beacon, somewhere in the Outer Rim, aka various homes and apartments all over the place. You know, living room apartments, bedrooms, basements, all sorts of fun stuff. Not calling anybody out. We have a fun show for you tonight. We are going to
At
be,
least I have the courage to say I'm in my bedroom or house. Matt is, I don't know what he's doing.
We
You're
don't
not.
we don't want to see what's behind
Matt,
the curtain. Nobody
Matt,
needs to see that.
Matt, you look like you're like renting like a private ski chalet,
Yeah.
like in like the Poconos.
This is the foyer to my vacation house.
See, I'm just simply hiding the fact that I have been sewing for 12 hours straight.
You're in a space station. I don't see what's hard about that.
Yeah.
We're on space stations. My disorganized DVD Blu-ray shelf over here.
Yeah.
Anyway. So we have a fun show for you all tonight. We are going to be diving into quite a few topics, one of which is actually going to be about fandom and the importance of small conventions and small fan-run conventions, which the four of us here are very, very passionate about, and I can't wait for us to talk about that. And then, of course, we're going to be diving into the Dad Batch, our favorite four knuckle-headed Clone Force 99 defective but effective clones. Eric's speech good one day. But before we get into that, let's do our introductions. Joining me again, it is my co-pilot. If this was the Enterprise, since we're talking a little bit about Farpoint, they would be my number one. It's Faye. Faye, welcome back.
I'm back after a very long hiatus. In fairness,
Yes.
I was following around a crown.
We'll get into that later.
We'll get into that.
But yes, it's great to have you back. Just give me 1 second here. And joining me tonight as well, these two I got to meet at Farpoint this year. I got to sneak into the Masquerade green room for a few minutes just to talk with these people, and also to make sure my wife was ready for the Masquerade. Joining me, we have I barely recognize one of them without makeup. The other one, Matt, we have Matt from the Ancient Armory. You are a Roman Centurion cosplayer and do other cosplays?
Yeah, so my specialty is basically stuff that's made of metal. So I do Roman, I do medieval, and I'm also for the last 7 years I've been a professional shield maker.
Oh,
So
very cool. Very cool.
that's a little bit of me and what I do, and why I have my virtual background now to hide the mess in my shield shop.
It's all good. I like Pocono Ski Chalet better, but that's
That's
just
fair.
me.
That's fair.
Yeah. And then joining me, they were the Cheshire Cat meets Cats the Musical meets all sorts of stuff. It's our good friend, well, now good friend, Alex Bowman.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I mean,
Ah.
it was like Cheshire Cat meets Cats the Musical meets Dr. Seuss meets vague Barbie influence. All of those things in one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem. So before we get started tonight with our stuff, I'm gonna go over a few announcements here, and then we would like to get to know you both, like where your fandom journeys began and everything, and go from there. So, a couple of quick announcements. Shore Leave. We are going to be attending Shore Leave in July up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And one of the guests may or may not be Snap Wexley from the sequel trilogy.
Cool.
Yeah.
I am
Yeah.
so sorry. I am a little tiny bit. You should have asked before you invited me. I'm a little Star Wars illiterate. Who is that?
It's okay. So he did you watch Heroes at all?
No. I
Okay.
swear I've seen all the Star Wars main movies.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? I do have this.
Okay.
My little man.
Oh,
Oh, there you go. You
yes.
got a porg. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
cool.
And is he out of batteries?
Porg. Oh
Oh
no!
Oh,
no,
No!
he's like 6 years old and finally kicked the bucket, I guess. But here he's here because I'll have him right here. There we go.
So there you go. There you go. He's looking over. If our good buddy Cam Ray was here, his shoulder Kawaki monkey lizard bub would probably be yelling at your porg. But that's another story. Snap was one of the pilots in Poe's Black Squadron, and he bites it before everybody shows up in the final battle in episode 9. And his stepfather is in the Millennium Falcon when they show up. And I'm like, great. Wedge, Faye.
yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry. So yeah. So they got Greg Grunberg, and then they because he's friends with J.J. Abrams, so that's why he's been like in the Star Wars movies and stuff. He was also in Star Trek Beyond as like one of the communications officers, I think, on the Yorktown was the name of the space station. My Star Treks are running together. And then they have the body double who played Princess Leia in Rogue One. That's going to be attending as well. And then some Stargate alumni, some Star Trek alumni. That's happening in July up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Get your tickets for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Their masquerade is just as fun as the Farpoint masquerade. So, Matt, you're getting ready for that, right?
I am. I've got a collection of Roman boys up in
Yeah.
the East Township area. So we're thinking of doing some kind of, I think it was a History of the World group skit where it was it was that one scene where it's like you flunked
flank?
flanking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got a couple of guys that would just be all in on that. So
Nice.
plans.
Yeah, absolutely. Alex, any plans to attend Shore Leave?
I would love to. I just graduated and I now am working
man.
and have money for transportation. And I'm hoping to move to New York sometime very soon. And from there, I should have transportation to all sorts of places. So if the stars align and maybe I can tap into a friend who owns a car or something, then yes, I would love to. It all depends on the transportation. The spirit is willing, but the transportation options are weak.
Of course, of course.
Of course.
That's how it normally is.
Yeah.
Second announcement, real quick. My wife and I are going on vacation in a couple of weeks, but we're going to try to bring you as much content from Disney parks as possible by doing some Instagram posts, some lives, all that stuff. Plan is I'm building a lightsaber at Galaxy's Edge, which I'm really excited about. And the plan is to close out Oga's Cantina and stumble through Hollywood Studios after quite a few drinks. After we close it out. Well, stumble for me, not necessarily my wife. She's going to be dragging me to the bus to get back to the resort. But yeah, so we're planning on doing that, so stay tuned for that. So we probably won't have a live show after we get back because we also have something going on that day, that Saturday coming back. But there's that. And then third and final announcement. Some of you have been asking when the RPGs are coming back. They actually have. So I am here to announce that they are coming back. Our Old Republic RPG and our High Republic RPG are coming back. However, before we do that, we're doing a special crossover between both shows. And this is actually going to be a couple of months that we're going to be doing this. The Old Republic and High Republic are going to meet, and they're going to be doing the first ever Galactic Republic Song Contest RPG, hosted by my NPC, one Stevie Palps, which I will send you all the RPG links. That way you can meet Stevie Palps if you have like a couple of hours. Um, he is obnoxious and fun, and he may or may not rescue cantinas like a certain bar rescue guy. Just saying. Just saying.
We
So
love
that's
Stevie Phelps here.
yeah. We love Stevie. What are you gonna do, huh? What are you gonna do? Um, so there's that. So that's going to be happening sometime in May. I'm still getting people together for that, but we're also going to have some new players specifically for that session. So stay tuned for that. Anyway, let's get into a couple of pieces of news here. You really want to feel dated. The Phantom Menace is coming back for its 25th anniversary come May 3rd. Wanted to say May 4th, but that's when we're doing the costuming thing. Yeah.
God, I was 9 when that came out.
I wasn't born yet.
Oh, yeah. High five. At least I skipped all the people getting mad. You know, that whole first Star Wars is bad
Yeah.
now. I got to.
Yeah.
I skipped all of it, although I have vague memories of seeing Revenge of the Sith in theaters.
All I will say is that growing up watching the original Star Wars movies and then seeing like actual Jedi from the Republic era just kind of like doing their thing and just kicking butt, it was cool. It was really cool.
Well, yeah, because at that point, the only Star Wars movies we saw in theaters was when they re-released the special editions like 2 years before.
Mhm.
Which that was a lot of fun, by the way, seeing those movies. But yeah, that became our Star Wars. That became like our thing. So yeah, you missed the Jake Lloyd and Ahmed Best bullying part, but you did
Oh.
miss the sequel trilogy bullying. So
Also, I just realized that I think at the beginning I introduced myself by saying I had seen all 6 movies. Oops.
well, to
My
some
bad.
people, there are only 6 movies.
According to some parts of Twitter, there are only 6 movies. So,
Yeah.
To quote Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's truth from a certain point of view.
Hey,
Yes.
flawless.
Hey, Chris,
Some
what's
of
up,
us
buddy?
are some of us are completionists here.
Yes.
You all
Yeah,
can
yeah.
say Matt. He'll just do that while you're talking with him. Just make the coolest connections. He's great.
Some of us are completionists.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, some of us did the full gambit of Force Awakens, Rogue One, Last
Oh,
Jedi,
yeah.
Solo, and Rise of Skywalker.
10 movies. Yeah. And then
Hey,
yeah.
11. Actually, technically
11.
12 because of the Clone Wars movie.
I've even completed my read of every canon book.
Oh my
Ooh,
lord. Nice work.
that was rough. Because some of those.
I yield the floor.
Palpatine should never be a narrator in anything.
No. All I'm going to say is this, like, there's some. I love canon. Some of us acknowledge the Christmas special. Yes, Chris, some of us do acknowledge the holiday special. So technically, it's 13 movies.
Weird Al acknowledges the Christmas special, and thus
Weird
so do I.
Al does.
Mhm.
So
I do an annual watch.
okay, so actually, you know what? Let's round it up to like 16 movies because we're gonna do all the Lego specials too that they did for Disney Plus.
The more you add to this number, the proportion of my literacy decreases.
It's like Skyrim re-releases. The number just keeps going up.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Well,
Yeah.
remember, you can play Skyrim on Alexa now, so just saying. Life lessons.
Not to sidetrack too much, but there was a researcher that managed to get Doom to render on E. coli bacteria.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah. The can it run Doom
Yes.
like question is what's gonna put us in space.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's what's gonna get us outside the galaxy.
Someone will invent FTL just to see if they can run Doom on it.
Yeah, pretty much. I think that's what the Star Trek warp core was invented just to do. Run Doom.
And to sidetrack further, I just had a
Yeah.
friend who's far more literate than I ask me to ask you, What are your thoughts on the characterization of Dark Lord Tenebrae and the eventual integration of Sith history into the Disneyverse? Will Darth
Ooh.
Bane's Rule of Two and other legend materials eventually all be co-opted?
So Bane is canon.
Let me message my Sith note.
Yeah.
I'm like, can I call a friend?
So
Regis
have
Philbin
not-
shows up.
I
Matt.
have not started with my EU reading, so like I don't know a lot about the Sith and the lore of the Sith. However,
Got
we
it.
are going to be seeing more from different
Yeah.
dark side and Sith groups. We started seeing that in Phase 2 of the High Republic, and I believe we're going to be looking into that a whole lot more with upcoming publishing. So
Yeah. So to answer your question real quick, Alex, Bane is
Kelvin's question. Kelvin says hello.
Well, hi, Kelvin. So Bane and the Rule of Two are canon. They were
Yes.
actually the Rule of Two was canonized in Phantom Menace, and it's after Qui-Gon's it's at Qui-Gon's funeral that they're talking about the Sith. Chris, I know that comment. I'm getting to that. Just hang on. Revan is now canon too, because he's mentioned in Rise of Skywalker, and he's also mentioned in the book called Shadow of the Sith, which I highly recommend because that connects 7, 8, and 9 really, really well. So the Rule of Two is canon. Bane is canon. Bane got canonized with Clone Wars, actually.
yeah,
In season 6, which technically at that point was the final season of the show. Yoda goes on this mission, and Bane, he encounters the Force. I wouldn't say Force Ghost. I would call it a Force Demon of Darth Bane. And Bane tries to tempt Yoda to go to the dark side. So we're getting more and more Sith. The Acolyte is going to be full of the Sith coming up, and that's actually a High Republic TV show that we're getting. In fact, in Jedi Survivor, one of the High Republic Jedi in that game does go full Sith at one point too. So we're getting there. It's taking them a while to do so, but we're getting there. Darth Tenebris or Tanabris, I don't know if they're going to become canon yet. Hopefully, but we'll see.
If I remember correctly, I think it's Book of Boba Fett that brings the Infinite Empire into canon too, because when they're talking with the Tusken Raiders and they're kind of giving Boba Fett their creation myth, they mention, I think,
Right.
if I remember this correctly, they mentioned something about Tatooine being a part of an empire that was like this lush world or something like that. And then,
Yes.
yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. So the Infinite Empire from the Old Republic is actually technically canon now because it's mentioned in Book of Boba Fett. Yes, Chris, there were actually 2 Ewok movies. So technically there's 18 Star Wars movies. Revan is canon. He was actually supposed to be in Clone Wars. You're right. He was actually a deleted animatic. And then I believe they were going to bring him into Rebels somehow, but like they couldn't get to that. So yes, Phantom Menace, really old. Let's move on. So
it's also back in theaters. Shrek 2 apparently in this year.
Shrek 2 is coming back to theaters.
At least briefly. Yeah.
Wow.
For a split second, I thought you were about to say they found some way to make Shrek 2 canon.
They found a way to put Earth and Indiana Jones in Star Wars. Trust me, they'll find a way.
I'm sorry, but they've put Coca-Cola in Star Wars by having it in Galaxy's Edge. So anything is possible.
I'm just imagining him going.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I was going to say, anyone who, by that logic, anyone who enters Disney World, Galaxy's Edge maybe, but perhaps more broadly, Disney World as a whole is part of Star Wars canon too. So
yeah,
I'm down.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, you really are. Shrek in Star Wars. Get out of my swamp, donkey!
I'm just imagining him going, "You were the chosen donkey."
It's over, donkey. I have the high ground.
Oh no, please, please don't do this.
Donkey's the father, isn't he? Just
My allegiance is to democracy.
not Lord Farquaad. See, Matt, I have to have you on the show a lot more.
I
That's
would
all I
be
was gonna
happy
say.
to
Yeah.
join.
I'm just picturing like the little donkey dragon hybrids with Cut and Sue LeQuane's kids. The chaos they would create.
Yes.
No, I am not okay. I'm broken. I'm tired. It's been a long week.
It's only 20 minutes into the stream. We
Yeah,
gotta
we're
keep
20
going.
minutes in and it's already gone off the rails, but that's the live show for you.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much this is a big circus right now and we're all here for it. Yeah, back on topic. Phantom Menace old, Shrek old. Star Wars Battlefront 2 is now old and Battlefront 1, and it's getting a re-release in March, actually. Aspire Media, who did the ports for Episode 1 Racer, Republic Commando, the Jedi Knight games, and I believe they did the ports for Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. They're releasing Star Wars Battlefront and Battlefront 2. This is going to be... this is going to blow your mind. It's going to have all the campaigns. It's going to have all of the galactic conquests from the original games. It's going to support online multiplayer up to 64 players a match.
I remember when Battlefront 1 first came out, I was in high school. I was playing it on an underpowered desktop that didn't have a graphics card. And it was like I was fighting the lag as much as I was fighting the opposing players. And it was great. It was good times.
This is not just going to be on current gen hardware. They're releasing it on Nintendo Switch, PS4, and Xbox One, as well as PC, PlayStation 5, and Series X and S. So you do have those coming out. The final piece of news is the High Republic announcement's 4 years old today, and Faye and I aren't emotional about this at all. We haven't been hurt by this at all. If there's one thing Star Wars is, it's Spain without the S. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah. If you decide to read the High Republic, bring tissues.
Yeah. Also, don't with phase 1, let it sit for a little bit.
Don't binge read.
Don't binge read it in a week like I did. That was
No.
not wise.
All I'm gonna say is Kevin, Claudia, Zoraida, Lydia, and
I
George.
think any binging that takes a week is not binging. That just sounds like healthy, consistent habits.
Oh, it was every single High Republic book of phase
It's
1
a lot.
in a week.
It's a lot because there were 3 adult novels, 3 young adult novels, 3 middle grade novels, and an audio drama
And
on
comic
top
books.
of 3 comic book series and a manga.
For what it's worth, I did the same thing with Heir to the Empire back in the EU days, and I was just like, the when you're like a tween and you can just burn through a 300-page novel in an evening, and I was just like, all right, where's the next one? Give it to me.
There are jokes about the Republic Fair song at 2 times speed. I was reading at 3 times speed. I have not heard that song in a normal speed.
We don't talk about that song.
If you're not reading in Nightcore, are you even reading?
So, like I said, Kevin, actually Charles
has never been forgiven.
No. Charles, Kevin, Claudia. Justina doesn't really have as much blood on her hands. Um, Daniel doesn't have much. But he did make us think buckets of blood was dead. That's all I'm gonna say. Alyssa doesn't have any blood on their hands. Zoraida, George definitely. And Lydia definitely. You all know what you did. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Although I am happy to hear from my boy from the comics,
Which one?
Skier.
Oh yeah, yeah. Skier. Okay. Gingerbread Amidala, you're a monster. You're breaking my gumdrop buttons. We had to go back to
Danny,
Shrek
you're
for a
breaking
second.
my heart.
Run as fast as you can.
Holding out for a hero, John Williams cover plays in the background.
What? It's sung by Cy Snoodles from Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
Of course.
Meanwhile,
I
Chad's
heard
like,
that
we're
that-
leaving.
I heard that actress who did that was in Cats at some point.
Was she? Hold on.
Apparently she had a leading role of some kind. Someone mentioned
In-
that to me at a con recently, and I
In Shrek or in Star Wars?
the singer from Return of the Jedi from Jabba's palace was a big
Oh.
Cats person, I guess.
Really?
I just somebody came up and told me that in one of those passing small talk con interactions. I have yet to Google it. I had forgotten until then.
I love those. I'll
Yeah.
never forgive Cy Snoodles for what she did either. That's all I'm gonna say too. And Max Rebo is actually on the piano for Hero. That's all I'm gonna say. Anyway, let's talk about fandom. So here on the Beacon, we love fandoms, whether it's Star Wars or Star Trek or video games. I got to geek out with Aaron McDonald about Mass Effect, which was a lot of fun. Um, so but we love small conventions and we love fandom. So I met as I said earlier, actually let's get into you two. Alex, if you want to go first, and then and Matt, you want to go. Tell us about you getting into fandom, what your favorite fandoms are, all that fun stuff.
Totally. Well, my parents read me The Hobbit when I was very young and got me into kind of fantasy literature and film very early. And then when I saw The Hobbit on December 22nd, 2012, like something clicked in my head, and fueled by the visual effects and Martin Freeman's adorable face, I became who I am. Because like, on college essays, you're asked what was a turning point in your life, and unfortunately, it was Martin Freeman's face. I regret. I kind of got into the art of kind of fandom culture. I made a Tumblr, I made a DeviantArt, and I remember I put up a tweet when I was in high school, like, do you think that the constant content churn on social media is a net positive or negative for artists as people, as practitioners? And the response was overwhelmingly no. And I think for me, it was actually a massive motivator, and honestly, what enabled me to develop my portfolio over time and develop skills over time. And I'm really grateful for my early exposure to other artists and early encouragement from other artists online. And I got to say, DeviantArt, no matter what you've heard about it, it's got its good parts. I didn't run into problematic until I later wondered what a furry was, because people kept calling me one. But until then, I did not have to have it shoved down my throat, so that was good. So anyway, I started out with like Lord of the Rings and Doctor Who, and Sherlock, which I later learned is bad. I have some video essays about that if anyone's interested. And then my piano teacher at one point mentioned the existence of cats, and then my grandpa gave me this and had something on the inside, like a little post-it that said, like, maybe you could write music for these. And I was like, what? And then I later heard about the trailer and for the Cats movie, which I watched the day I got fired from the Library of Congress, and actually dramatically improved the day and made it a net positive of a day. That's a long story. It was an internship, and I accidentally tattled on my bosses to the Librarian of Congress, which was I didn't mean without meaning to. But anyway, long story. But no, I got really into Cats because of the Cats movie trailer, which I think is sacrilegious. So
A little bit as someone who like grew up on the professional films version of the
yeah,
West End production, like
yeah.
I'm
I
hurt.
I saw a photo of the Tom Hooper cat designs before I saw a photo of the stage designs. I'm just realizing. So, no, my first like Doctor, my first Cats was the movie, unfortunately. But yeah, and then I had already been doing like casual assemblage cosplay stuff with Doctor Who characters before then, and I had bought like a full custom made like dirt cheap Bilbo Baggins costume from a sweatshop in China in middle school, and I kind of Cats was my moment to upgrade from that to kind of making my own stuff. And that's the thing, Cats costumes are surprisingly easy to put together. I was surprised, especially if you already know how to knit. You knit in the round. I think my knitting needles are back there, but you get knitting needles and then you knit in a circle for a really, really long time. That's all the leg warmers and arm warmers are. For the tail, you take a doorknob and a chair, and you wind the yarn in a triangle until you get like a long folded thing, and then you tie yarn around that for a while. The wig, I'll keep this brief. You cut the legs off a pair of pantyhose, and then you hot glue hair extension hair all over it. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. So there's fine tuning that you can do, but it's not that hard. So, yeah. Anyway, that's a very messy snapshot.
All good.
Answer to your question.
Real quick, you said you love Doctor Who. Who was your first Doctor?
David Tennant, just because
Okay.
I went over on like a play date to a friend's house in 7th or 8th grade, and they were like, the Stolen Earth is a good intro to everything that
Oh my god.
It's okay. My first one was the "Are You My Mummy" episode from Eccleston.
Yeah, that would be a good one to have first. A little bit more straightforward as a narrative than the Stolen Earth.
Yeah.
Also, like you were talking about making your Cats cosplay, I just picture you like in a MacGyver vest, like just trying to like piece everything together.
You should see my tiny apartment in DC. It's man, I wish I'm doing this from my family house, but if I were doing it from my apartment in DC, I've got the mannequin behind me, I've got a line of wigs, I've got like a Cats poster in the background, all unintentional. Like if I were trying to project insanity and like hyper fixation, I would succeed. I didn't mean, and sometimes I've even found myself wearing my cat sweater. I'm like, oh Lord. I also like, I have other interests, I promise. But yeah, see, but yeah,
it's all good.
Yeah, that's a quick overview of my relationship with pop culture.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Matt, hit us, man.
Okay, so my name's Matt. I my socials are at the Ancient Armory, and my journey into fandom started also as a kid. When Alex was talking about kind of growing up on The Hobbit and Tolkien and stuff, I remember when the Lord of the Rings movies were first coming out, and I saw each and every one of them in theater, and every time it was just like, oh, it was incredible. Grew up on the original Star Wars series, saw the prequel trilogy when it came out in theaters as well, and I got into kind of like armor cosplay, so cosplay with like metal components, and then shield making are kind of my primary realms of fandom, with a bit of a splash into like fantasy and stuff. It started with the 1959 Ben-Hur when I was 25. Saw it for the first time, and I was blown away by the architecture of all things, because like today you're used to seeing things just be boxes and different variations of boxes. So like the idea that you could have these ornately beautifully designed just buildings and pillars and statues, it captivated me. And so I started researching, and I threw together basically just some eBay Roman armor for the Renaissance Fair. And the rest, as they say, is history. One thing led to another. I started getting into historical reenactment, and but cosplay has always been something that I've wanted to be a part of. And now, from like 2023 onwards, I found an avenue through which to get into it. So I've started getting back into the con scene again, and and it's been a wonderful journey. The history stuff was a wonderful journey too, but just in different ways. So right now I'm looking to try and like marry those two worlds.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. So pop quiz right now. Since this is a Star Wars podcast, we have to ask, what's your favorite Star Wars movie? No judgments whatsoever. If you love a sequel trilogy movie, that's cool. If you love original trilogy, prequel, Solo, Rogue One, the 18 other movies that we talked about earlier, whether it being the Ewok movies or Clone Wars or what have you. We're going to start with Matt, then go to Alex. Faye, I think I already have yours, but you can say yours again.
It might have changed. Who knows?
Okay. So, Matt, go ahead.
Oh, definitely the Christmas special. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. So I'm gonna be a little bit controversial in that I actually really enjoyed the sequel trilogies. Like
Yep.
I would agree with the critics that there was a lot of stuff that could have been better, but I think with a series like Star Wars, it's a case of lightning rarely striking twice. So that aside, my favorite is still going to be Return of the Jedi at the end of the day, because that Battle of Endor music, and everything's just come together for that final fight. It's like the freaking the muster of the Rohirrim in space. It just sends a chill up my spine every single time I see it, and I love it. It's great.
There's a reason I knew I liked you, Matt. I'm a Return of the Jedi fan myself, buddy.
It's great.
Such a great movie. Such a great movie. All right, Alex, go ahead. It's any movie. Any movie.
I'm a big Empire Strikes Back fan.
Okay.
I think that I'm an illustrator, and from an illustration perspective, it presses the dopamine buttons for me on you can tell that concept art was like lovingly, painstakingly done for each of these worlds, and it checks all the boxes, I think, of what a sci-fi fantasy film should look like. And it just the dialogue is snappy. It doesn't have the Marvel well, that just happened energy. I think that's what the Marvel movies are trying to do, is to that level of quippiness combined with serious discussion. I think they nailed it. And it levels up. It's now synonymous with the idea of a good sequel, and I think that's for a reason.
Yeah.
I will also say it's the most beautiful of the original trilogy movies. Honestly.
Really is gorgeous.
Yeah. Return of the Jedi. Amanda, see, that's why we're that's why we're buddies. All right, Faye.
Gotta go with the first one I ever have memories of seeing. It's Revenge of the Sith. I think it really does fill out the tragic aspect of the prequels, and it's very Richard III in a way.
Yeah.
I have had so many rants about the history plays to me recently that it's very Shakespeare Richard III.
That's awesome. For me, I'm the same as Matt. I love Return of the Jedi. I love everything about it. It's like getting the band back together for one final thing. How can you not love the Jabba's sail barge fight? How can you not love a bunch of Ewoks? Real quick side note: if you're a fan of Return of the Jedi, read Princess and the Scoundrel, because it takes place literally right after Return of the Jedi. Han and Leia, Han has an Ewok bachelor party. That's all I'm saying.
Both the title and that sound like bad fanfic, but if you
it's so good.
So damn good.
Okay.
It is so good.
He's so damn good. Empire definitely is George's best. He was allowed to go full force after A New Hope establishes what the Force was and starts the tragedy of Anakin Skywalker. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Richard III is the best Shakespeare. Yes. So let's get into this. Alex, you brought up a great point before the show. You were talking about fandoms and like whether or not we won. And I would love to hear from you and from Matt and from Faye about especially nowadays with fandom, and we're going to get into some discourse discussion here as well because that is like one of the things that's plaguing fandom, honestly. I believe it's okay to have disagreements in fandom, but like
Mhm.
the discourse is a little bit much. Alex, go ahead and tell us about that panel that you attended at Farpoint.
Yeah, so I came in about 10 minutes late and I did not quite track the framing of the discussion, but to me it seemed going in that the participants were trying to figure out if nerd culture has become mainstream culture. And in that sense, if it had, we would have won. The nerds would have won. And if we did win, what are the consequences of that? And are there some negative consequences of that? And when I kind of got in there, I said, I think that if nerd culture has combined with the mainstream, that could possibly be to blame for the kind of glut of content on all these streaming services that are trying to appeal to large audiences that aren't interested in intense world building or don't have time for, plots about fascism or what have you, and that's not for everybody. You need different kinds of Star Wars for all kinds of people. You need the cute little animated shows. You need The Last Jedi for big brain people. You need all sorts to make a world, right? And so I think that the combination of kind of nerd culture with a desire to market to the I think nerd culture combined with a desire to market to the mainstream has actually hurt nerd culture in kind of a what's the word? Backfiring sort of way. So that was kind of where we left the discussion in that room, but I'm so eager to hear your takes on it. Um,
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting point. Matt, go ahead, and then Faye.
Sure.
Yep.
So, Eric, I'm sure you remember this as well. I grew up on the kind of the very tail end of the era where it was only publicly acceptable to like sports, and you'd be made fun of for liking anything else openly. And so I would, as far as whether or not the nerds won, I would say yes to a point. I would say that through the internet, through the technological advances of society, we have carved out a niche for ourselves where we can be openly ourselves and have it be not only accepted but celebrated. Like
Mhm.
cosplay. I didn't even know what cosplay was until I was 21, and now it's a 1.3 billion dollar industry with people that are in it full time. Um, I definitely agree that there are some negatives that come along when anything gets the attention of the mainstream, but I would argue further that those are inevitable negatives that come with the increase of eyes on that thing, whatever it may be, but that the positives of having it be so widespread far outweigh the negatives
Mhm.
because we now live in an era like when I was a kid growing up, up until Phantom Menace came out, we had the original three trilogies and the remake, and I suppose the Christmas special if you count that too. But nowadays there is just such an ability to tailor the kind of fandom content and kind of geek subculture, if you want to call it that. The options are limitless, and if you don't want to, you know if there's something negative, the ability to filter that out is easier today, I would say, than it was back then. Because you know because yeah, that's that's just
yeah,
that's just my thoughts on it.
I mean, I think Matt, your take is totally right. It's far more
Mhm.
important to ensure people feel loved and included than to
Yeah.
have good good TV show. I completely agree with you. I wish
Sure.
we could have both, and I feel like we can. I feel like we can if we just on-ramp people, on-ramp the non-nerds into the more nerdy content, and I've seen those graphs for getting people into Discworld, for example. I'm
Uh-huh.
sure that you could make a list of how to, radicalize people into nerds.
One of the one of
Yeah,
the one of the things that I'm sorry, I'll just say this real quick and then I'm done.
no worries.
One of the things that I like to kind of the lens that I like to look at with like the more mainstream kind of like nerd content, geek content, if you want to call it that, is that it is a revenue source for the niche stuff that really speaks to us to have an environment where that can flourish. So that's my take on it. I'm sorry, Faye, I didn't mean to cut you off
No
there.
worries. Like, I think having fandom be a big thing is actually really helpful. It like Matt says, it's a really good way of generating revenue for the more in-depth projects that we want made. Like, we're getting like really good Dune adaptations, the with like good visuals. That has not happened before. We've had Dune adaptations, but none of them have really like it. The Dune adaptation conversation can be complicated, but like we wouldn't have the big box Dune movies currently if other things were not building that revenue. Same thing with like how popular A24 films can be. Those can really help build revenue for other things that are like A24 has the big projects so that they can make the more niche ones as well. Things like Archive of Our Own also came about with the popularity of fandom and fanfic, and actually provided a safer way for people to take part in reading about the things that other artists in the fandom were making, while also being able to like go, okay, based on these tags, I'm probably not going to be able to enjoy this based on these things. That sort of tagging culture was not really much of a thing before AO3. And so all of this gives us a way to tailor our own experience online and creates generally a safer online fandom experience for everyone. So I think the more the better. Everyone gets more cake.
100%.
And there is an argument that the more that's being generated, the greater likelihood that there's going to be something good generated, kind of like the principle of competition, as
Yeah.
long as, probability wise, you would think that. There's a chance that's not true, but probability wise, you could hope that would happen.
So going back to a few points here, I believe like if we look at and Alex and Matt and Faye, you all bring up really really awesome points when it comes to this. One of the things about fandom is look at the early MCU and how people just attach themselves to the early MCU and how they slowly built this thing up to where we got to Endgame and then
Mhm.
eventually Spider-Man No Way Home, which to me that's kind of like the end of the MCU, honestly. Currently, I honestly I'm not a fan of a lot of the things that they've done because I just feel like they're just trying to churn it out. To Alex's point, where it just seems like more is not necessarily better. It's it just feels like they're just trying to get something out just to appease people. Where I think nowadays what you need to do is you need to focus on the story. And that's why I love shows like Andor, which has taken its time to build something
Yes.
to where it is. Um, going to to what somebody said about how to get into like Discworld and stuff like that. Alex, I believe that was you. Kevin Doe, all I want, or Kelvin, all I want is Hollywood to do the sandworm transformation from Children of Dune. So trippy. That would be really cool. But going to what you were talking about with like Discworld and stuff, our team member Joey McDermott got me into Brandon Sanderson by telling me to read Mistborn. Now I'm on book 2 of Stormlight Archive, and this thing is thick. Like, um, so like it's one of those things where you know I think it's good to feed people the things that you're passionate about. And Faye will
Mhm.
tell you right now, like, we saw a lot of fans come into Star Wars just through Star Wars Visions, The Mandalorian, and The High Republic alone
Yeah.
before they even watched a movie. And Star Wars Visions was a great gateway to get people into the fandom because of the whole anime aspect and everything.
They're
Um,
and they're bite-sized stories, so you don't feel like you're just taking in a whole lot
mhm,
of content. You're not getting fire hose. It's just
yeah.
every story stands alone, and it gives you a good idea of what's going on.
Yeah. And like I said, like, we saw this influx of all these fans, whether it be through the sequel trilogy, Bad Batch, Andor. I think you kind of need to watch Rogue One to really understand Andor, because of you need to see where the character ends up. But I love that Star Wars themselves, they're taking their time with a lot of their Disney Plus projects. I will say this, not everything has hit. I've enjoyed it, but not everything has hit. I'm
Mhm.
looking at you, Mandalorian season 3, and 2 episodes, 2.5 episodes of Book of Boba Fett. That's all I'm saying. Um, but like, Bad Batch has been fantastic because they're building the story and they're doing it slowly. So, I look at that, but I also feel like, as I'm a comic book reader, I've always been a comic book reader, but I'm getting tired of seeing all the comic book movies. I'm excited for what James Gunn's about to do with DC, but I'm also cautiously optimistic. The last great comic book movie I watched was Blue Beetle. I didn't see the Marvels yet. Still haven't seen it yet, but I loved Blue Beetle. I thought it was great. But I'm kind of going off on a tangent here. But
Like
yeah,
the
more doesn't always
popularity,
mean good.
yeah, the popularity of fandom content and how much of it is being churned out does lead into a different discussion of fandom burnout, which is also a
Mhm.
thing. But
Yeah,
we all,
Content fatigue, I think I've heard it
yeah,
called too.
it's content
content
fatigue.
fatigue. It
Yeah,
really is. But like,
yeah.
speaking as someone who was like the single person making fan content for a series of books for the longest time, even if it's a shitty adaptation of I love so much, I'm just happy to see people more, like
Mhm.
more people finding out about it,
Mhm.
because then I get more content to eat, and I don't have to make
Yeah.
my own. So that was my experience with The Last Kingdom. Not really a big fan of the show, but it got others to read the books that I liked.
Um, yeah, I look at Watchmen. Like, Watchmen is one of the greatest comic book stories of all time.
Mhm.
I enjoy the long cut of Watchmen that Zack Snyder got to do, like the 3-hour cut of it, but the regular cut of that movie, it's not cohesive. It doesn't tell a great story. I still recommend people read Watchmen because it's a great story. And if they get into it by watching that, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, if you get into Batman by playing just the Arkham games, that's cool. Like, that's really cool. If you got into Star Wars just by playing Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, like, that's awesome too. Star Trek, my wife loves Lower Decks. Doesn't really watch a lot of Star Trek, but she'll watch Lower Decks, and she watches a little bit of Strange New Worlds, especially the Lower Decks crossover in the musical episode, because they're amazing. But Amanda brings up a great point too with animation. Clone Wars was great, Rebels was great, Bad Batch is great, even Star Wars Resistance was great, and a lot
Yeah.
of people crap on that show, and you shouldn't, because it's awesome. Um, when it goes to negative continuity or negative context for fandoms, The Big Bang Theory really hurt fandom, in my opinion. I really feel like they painted nerds in such a negative light, where you had a show like Community embracing the nerd culture.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Um, I never watched Big Bang Theory. I never got into Big Bang Theory, and when I was in high school and college, I would often get, you know, what we would call people like that exist outside of kind of like geek culture, nerd culture, fandom culture,
Mhm.
being like, oh, Matt, you're nerdy. Have you ever seen The Big Bang Theory? And I'm just like, no, and I'm not interested. Like, and I was just like, because I agree with you. I mean, I think that in a vacuum, I'm sure there's probably some elements of the show that can be funny, but I'm not a fan of the way that it negatively stereotypes nerd culture, especially people that are neurodivergent, because I
Yeah.
feel like it really kind of smears people that have some sort of neurospice, if you want to call it that. And so I'm a full disclosure, I'm a TikToker. That's a term I saw on TikTok, so I'm assuming people use it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
But
neurospicy is absolutely a thing that my friends and I refer to ourselves
yeah,
by. We have different types of neurospice.
I'm just over
Different
here like, how do you do, fellow kids?
The Steve Buscemi thing. Yeah. Yeah. Um,
okay.
for those of you that don't know who Steve Buscemi is, just watch Con Air and Armageddon. That's all I'm gonna say.
Do yourself a favor also and Google Stove Buscemi. Just trust
Yeah,
me.
Steve
Yeah.
Buscemi.
Or,
But yeah,
Eric, going back maybe 5 minutes, and what we were talking about just then was awesome too. But really quickly, just you are the first person I've interacted with when confronted with the question of what do we do about all this content? Man, there's so many sequels happening. Your first reaction was not, wow, we should make less content, stop it with the remakes and sequels. Your first reaction was, absolutely, heck yeah, let's get all these new stories in. And I think that's really interesting. In years I've never heard anybody open with that opinion, and like only later did you say like, oh, I'm kind of getting tired of it. But I really admire that optimism, and I wish that more people had that optimism. Because there is it breaks my heart as somebody who hopes to eventually, should the economy work itself out, work in media, that you have all these hundreds of hardworking, like, young people entering their career fields, and people maybe further in, who spend years of their lives, like 9 to 5, maybe longer, probably longer, probably like 4 to 4, but spending all this time making garbage. My heart weeps for these people.
yeah.
Like, look at
Yeah.
all of, I mean, if to the degree that you trust or care about Rotten Tomatoes, like, look how few good things there are. Like, good above 80, I don't know, most things are 50 or 60 from what I can
Mhm.
see. And all those people are putting their heads together to make garbage, and I know that they can do better, and I hope that they can, and I love your optimism. That's all.
No, I think
Yeah.
that's a great point. I
Thanks.
don't mean to cut you guys off real quick, but I want
No,
to
no,
go to
no.
that. I want to go to that, Alex. Like, yeah, I'm tired of them churning out what they're churning out sometimes, because like sometimes I'm thinking, well, that's not the way I would have adapted that story or something like that. But if it gets somebody into that fandom, like Faye said, do it. Like,
Yeah.
bring it on. Like, if you I may not like that adaptation, but if it gets you to pick up a freaking comic book or a video game or something and you enjoy that, that's cool. I still haven't seen the Uncharted movie yet, but I love the Uncharted games.
I mean, the Cats movie got me into cats, right?
Yeah.
So
Like
there you
the whole
go,
idea is we want people to have options, and that way they can tailor their experience to what they enjoy. And so like the healthiest thing to be is to say, if you strongly disagree with someone about a certain piece of media, is just feel like, you know what, that's good.
right?
You don't
Yeah.
need to engage further. You can just say that's great.
Maybe, maybe in terms of media quality, not trying to be a
Hmm.
moral relativist here, but in terms of media quality, maybe we should be slower to say that
Hmm.
show is bad or that show is boring. Maybe we should be
Yeah.
quicker to try to understand where somebody was coming from, who was there in the
Yeah.
creative process.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And not everything's going to be a faithful adaptation to something. Like, I totally understand that, because there's stuff that you miss. Like, I mean, look at the perfect example of that is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which I think is actually a great adaptation of the book. There you go. Don't forget your towels. That's all I'm going to say. But it's to me it's a great adaptation of that book. Not every joke lands, but it's one of the more faithful adaptations. I just wish it had done better. That way we could have seen what they could have done with a bigger budget and restaurant at the end of the universe. But
Yeah.
this is where I want to shift into fandoms and conventions, because we get a lot of conventions now that are surrounding certain things. Like, they literally just finished up a Star Trek cruise today. Um, Star Wars Celebration is in like 14 months in Tokyo next year, which I'm not going because it's kind of hard to fly to Tokyo. Um, but then you get small conventions like Farpoint, Shore Leave. My favorite is, because it's in my hometown, Ocean City Comic Con. Um, like, you get all of these amazing small conventions, and that's when you really start to see the melting pot that is the fandom community. And if you guys can take it away, I'm
Oh
done.
yeah. Like, so I started going to cons when I was about 14 years old. I started out as like a itty baby cosplayer. So like I started, like, I still consider, even though I no longer live there, like Tucson Comic Con and Phoenix Fan Fusion to be like my home conventions. They're still my favorite places to go. They're my favorite conventions to go to. And they're small, but they've got great artists, and like, really, the thing about Comic-Con is you want to go be surrounded by people who like the things or are interested in the things that you enjoy. And that's why small cons are like my favorite things to go to. I'm actually going to a couple of smaller conventions this year for like, mostly for advertising for my reenactment stuff, but also just to be at panels again, because I haven't been to one in ages.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I went to New York Comic Con for the first time last October, and I never thought that I could get overwhelmed by a con. But it happened. Like, I never, and I think a big part of that for me was just, I want to consume everything that is being put in front of me. I want to enjoy it, and I'm missing thing after. Part of it was poor planning, but it's like two building, massive complex. It's like the biggest or second biggest in the country in terms of attendance. And I just felt like genuinely sad at how much I had missed. And at small cons, I feel like I can walk away consistently having engaged with all or most of what was being offered to me. And I kind of like that feeling of almost accomplishment, even though I'm not really contributing to, but
Yeah.
other than attending in a funny outfit, I like feeling like I did it. I can mark all those checks
Mhm.
off my treasure hunt, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Matt. Yeah.
my first foray into conning was Otakon 2011. But my home con, while I was in the con scene until probably about like 2016. As I was just like I was just like a guy, like but from 2012 to 2016, Balticon at the Marriott was my home con, and I would go to Otakon and the like the bigger ones, but Balticon always had a special place in my heart because I was a poor college kid at the time, so I would volunteer there in order to get into the con for free. And the Knights of Werewolf in the con suite were just near and dear to my heart, and it was a lovely. I mean, it still is a lovely con. I'm just not a huge fan of Baltimore parking. So,
No one
eh,
is.
no. So, it's I found myself really enjoying Farpoint and getting kind of that same vibe of, smaller con, easy to park, and
Mhm.
and it was just, I think everybody should have a small con as their home con if
Mhm.
they're planning on plunging into this
Mhm.
kind of this fandom culture of ours, because it gives you a place where you can have more personal connections than the bigger cons,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
it's easier to kind of like if you're doing cosplay, it's not quite as overwhelming because like all the big names typically aren't at the smaller cons.
Yeah.
And it's a good way to kind of like ease your way in. And I'm a fan of the smaller cons for that reason.
I I Matt, you hit the nail on the head with the interaction. I mean, you all did with the interaction at the small con. One memory And this happened just 2 weeks ago. Hanging out with you and Alex in the green room for the masquerade. So much damn fun. It was
Aw.
just so much fun
It was
because we
great.
got to just hang out and geek out. And like, people are nervous because it's the masquerade. They're about to get on stage and like do a sketch and stuff, but you just Alex, I was talking to my wife and you were just like, "Hey, I see your press. Like, what do you do?" Like, like, and
It's it's
and yeah,
it's the media journalist,
yeah,
who are you and what do you want and how can I
yeah,
can I follow you on
and
LinkedIn instinct? I'm not proud of
yeah,
it. Sometimes it's
no, but I mean, but like it's one of those things where the interaction is the greatest thing. Like Farpoint, I had great interactions with everybody that I talked to while I was there, whether it be the staff, whether it be the media guests. Like I presented my X-Men animated series omnibus to Cal Dodd, and he was flipping through it because he didn't know what it was, and he was just like, "What is this?" And I was like, "It adapts like all of the stories from your show." And he was like, "Is Cold Vengeance in here?" And I flipped it to Cold Vengeance. He's like, "Holy crap, that's my favorite story." Um, Talking to Aaron McDonald, who's the scientific advisor for Star Trek, like, and talking to her about Mass Effect. Out of all the things to talk about, it was Mass Effect. Like, um, Tawny Newsom was really down to earth. Jay Lee was really down to earth. Like, the small cons, I feel like allows not only the fans to let their hair down and just kind of relax for a bit, but it allows the guests to do it too.
Yeah.
Like you're still going to have those awkward interactions with some fans. I mean, that's at any con really, but for the most part, like you really get to see how down to earth a lot of these guests are. Um One thing that I do want to talk about, small cons are also great for raising money for charities.
They are.
Um, Farpoint Farpoint made me cry this year with how much money they raised for charity. Like, yeah.
Like one of my favorite things that Tucson Comic Con always did was instead of uh, having to do anything else for setting up or for like signing up for the costume competition, the costume competition was a Toys for Tots drive. Your admission was a toy to donate. And so that ended up raising a whole lot for our local community. And it's great. And
Mm,
that's kind of an underrated thing about so many conventions is that there's so many like little drives going on kind of on the background that you don't necessarily notice.
yeah. Um, like Matt and Alex will tell you, like during halftime at the Masquerade, like they were auctioning off a bunch of stuff, and like a lot of it went for a lot of money. Um, and like it went. One of them was for a charity that helps terminally ill children,
Mhm.
which one helps children learn about arts, which is great. Um, Ocean City Comic Con, if you pay for tickets at the door and you bring a canned good to go to the local homeless shelter, they give you a discount on your con ticket. Like it's just awesome. Highly recommend Ocean City Comic Con if you guys don't go. It's 2 days this year. two
When is
days.
it?
It
So
is.
it's
As
in
opposed to
December.
one.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's been
Whoa,
one for like the past 5 years.
that
Um,
I
seems.
think I'm
Wow,
gonna
how
add.
did they ever survive?
because it's a small. Have you been to Ocean City, Maryland? It's really
No, I mean,
small.
we went on a family trip a long time ago, but I've
Yeah.
never been to that convention.
It's
Yeah.
In the wintertime, Ocean City's dead. So like the con is like a great source of revenue, but it's a really fun convention. Like it's a really really fun convention. It's only like they started out at like a hotel on the boardwalk and then moved to the convention center.
Mhm.
Um and like this year a lot of people were asking like when are you going to 2 days, when are you going to 2 days, and then this year they decided to. But for them to to do that, and like that to me is one of the cool things. And to see the charitable, I'm talking too much, I'm sorry, but to see these fan communities show these just show their charity. It's heartwarming, and that's the big thing about fandoms and small cons and how important that they are. I'm gonna shut up. You guys can keep rolling with this, and we'll get to Dad Batch here in a little bit.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say I agree completely that small cons definitely have a place. It is a little jarring, and I'm saying from personal experience, um, when you have like big name celebs from your favorite show or movie or whatever that are just right there. And I went to Shore Leave last year, and it had a lineup of Battlestar Galactica actors. Like Grace Park was there. The Aaron Douglas, I think, is the guy that plays Chief.
Yeah.
Guy that plays Cameron Mitchell was there. My brain just locked up, and I was just like, they're just right there. What do I do? But Farpoint was good because I met Tawny Newsome, and I had her sign the back of this Roman Celtic auxiliary shield that I'd made. And she was asking, there was like an inscription in Gaulish on the back, and she was just like, "Oh, what does this mean?" I was telling her what it means, and she was jokingly like, "I'm terrified." And me, I'm a notorious punster. I was just like, "Hi, terrified. I'm Matt."
That's the way to do it.
She just kind of gives me this look like, but she was a good sport about it. So, but
Well,
yeah,
that's like I walked up to Jay Lee during his Q&A on the Sunday of Farpoint, and as soon as I walked up, Jay Lee was just like, "What? What do you want?" And I was just like, "You know what? Whatever, dude." And then like Jay Lee's like, "I'm just gonna start using that to greet people from now on." Like, whatever, man. Like,
He was really interesting. I went to his
yeah.
panel. He had some really wonderful observations on the nature of critics and their role in the creation of art and whether they're necessary and how much we should pay attention to them, and some nice original takes, which I'm forgetting sitting here. I just remember thinking they were good.
Well,
And he said them in a really punchy way, which again I'm forgetting, but it was good. I'm sure it was recorded. So
he he if one more person asked him about season 4 of the Orville, I think he was like gonna have like like I think he was just gonna be like, stop asking me. I don't care. Like, I mean, he cares. Like he cares. But it was just really funny because like people are like, so is there gonna be a season 4? And he's just like, I'm hoping so. Next 2 questions later, is there gonna be a season 4? I'm hoping so. Depends on you all.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not making fun of the people that ask about that because, like, everybody's gonna ask at some point, like about
Yeah.
season 4. Which watch the Orville. It's amazing. It's so damn good. I also recommend Lower Decks because Tawny Newsome's amazing. But yeah, like it's just really cool. One interaction I had, or a few interactions I've had, and it's at Ocean City Comic Con. They love Power Rangers guests. Like they really love their Power Rangers. So I got to meet the Time Force Blue Ranger and the Black Alien Ranger. And then this year I got to meet the In Space Blue Ranger. For the Black Alien Ranger and Time Force Blue, I have a copy of Shattered Grid, which is the big event that they did with Boom. I've had them autograph their Ranger Colors splash page, like in the back of the book. So like I have them find their Ranger, and they're like, "This is really cool. Like nobody's ever done that." Like so, and then for In Space Blue, I had a Lightning Collection figure, and I got him to sign the box for it, which was really cool. I'll shut up now.
no, you're good. You're good.
Donkey.
So
You were the chosen donkey.
I suppose while we're all waxing poetic about art at small cons
Yeah.
and how important they are,
Go for
what are
it.
some of your favorite interactions from a small con?
Well, I've told you my Tawny Newsome story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Alex.
learned about Farpoint at Station Unity, which is a very small con at the Gaylord, which is run
Oh.
by the Katsucon team or some
Mhm.
subset of the Katsucon team. And the marketing for Farpoint was so spectacular that I bothered a friend of mine with a car to drive me an hour and a half to Maryland. No, I learning about events that are wonderful, but might not have. I don't know. I'm guessing might not have the budget to exhibit
Mhm.
at a big con
Yeah.
and market themselves there. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to interact with about the same number of people and that you would at a big con because you as a human can only do so much, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Why not learn about other events and other
Yeah.
opportunities? And if you're trying to apply to anything or get your work featured or win a contest, you're more likely to win at a smaller con where there's, maybe people who are less advanced there. So why not go
Cleared
to
the
places where you're
masquerade
going to
out.
Yeah. Speaking of which, somebody cleaned up at Farpoint
thank
Masquerade.
you.
Yes, somebody cleaned up.
They,
Oh,
they
maybe you went
kept
on the strategy. Go to small events.
Yeah.
I
they
guess.
kept
Yeah.
they kept calling you up
Thank
there.
you. I
I was
appreciate it.
worried you were gonna run out of arms.
Yeah.
That's
You
what the
had just a
tail is
bundle
for,
of
right?
trophies
I guess.
at the end
Right?
of the night.
Yeah, I
Like
guess.
you look like Smog on the pile of gold, like at the end of the night. Like
Oh, I still have my Smaug. I have him.
yeah,
Here he is. Close enough. But
yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
yeah.
Bilbo has a beard.
Thank
But
you.
Matt,
Yeah, thank you.
you even won, and my wife won an award.
Even
Like
you, Matt.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, God, Matt. Jeez. It's not like your costume had detail or anything.
Yeah,
Oh,
you need
God.
folks who are watching, you need to understand. I just scrolled through his social media and was drooling over his armor.
Is seeing
How he does
Faye?
that all day, like wearing metal, multiple layers
Hashtag
of
the ancient
metal.
armory.
Yeah,
Uh,
hashtag ancient armory. Seriously, Faye, you need to come to Farpoint and hang out with us, and you need to see the shield up close. It is incredible.
I
Thank
need
you.
to. I will hopefully have my High Republic Italian fit done by then.
High Republic
awesome.
Italian.
I'm
you
doing a kind of like condottieri High Republic Jedi outfit. Since my
Okay.
sword teacher and I have a joke about he's
Go
the Jedi,
on.
I'm the Padawan. So I'm gonna be a High Republic Padawan. Just
That
Amazon
is
style.
that is fantastic.
I-
I appreciate the heck out of that.
I also feel that you should debut your Republic Song Contest Mary Allen at one point too.
Oh, I'm going to wear that costume for the stream.
Nice. But yeah, like go to these small cons. Like and one of the cool things is like Masquerade, like you actually get in front of like the workmanship judges like before the contest even
Oh, yeah.
starts. Which is really nice because like you actually have a moment where you're not like being like thrown in all different directions. I mean, I was really hoping that Warhammer Deadpool would have won something too, but you know,
I did love that cosplay. That was
yeah.
really cool.
I
Yeah.
mean, Admiral Snackbar did clean up too.
I was saying to Alex and then our mutual friend who drove her up, we were sitting at a table after the contest was over, that like if Admiral Snackbar didn't win at least something, that
Yeah.
I was gonna be livid because
Oh,
like
yeah.
that cosplay was just chef's kiss. It was
move,
And it
amazing.
was
too.
this elderly
Wait,
woman,
what?
like this small
Yeah.
lady. And
Yeah.
at one point in the green room, she took her arms off and was
Oh,
drenched
she
and
was
like
she was
dripping.
sweating
The
buckets.
arms had like liquid flowing out, and I was
my
like,
God.
"Ma'am, are you all right?" She's like, "Oh, that's normal."
Yeah,
It's
I've
normal,
done this
dear.
for 30
it's
years.
normal.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I guess,
Yeah, yeah.
Ma'am, is
Yeah.
it a trap? Are you okay?
Yeah, you might
Yeah.
think
Rap.
it's okay, but did you
It's a
check with
snack.
your, but yeah, so she's is so impressive and deserves the
Mhm.
world.
Well,
Yeah.
even the ones that won best in show, it was the Harley Quinn as like Queen Elizabeth, and then
Yes.
the Joker as her jester.
They won
They
they won
won
tickets to
big.
oh yeah, they won tickets to Cosplay World down
Yeah.
in Richmond.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was crazy, like how much detail went into their costumes. Like,
Oh yeah, Elizabethan is frankly like the richest. Like if we talk about historic costumes, like Elizabethan and like Rococo are generally like one of the best ones to go for to if you want the opulence of a crossover costume. I can talk about history crossover costumes for ages though. So like,
Are we about to get into historic fabrics? Because I'm also here for that conversation too.
we
hi,
can do that on Discord later.
hello. I'm making a German outfit right now.
I
Oh,
may
yeah,
or
that's
I
it.
may or may not have a Roman tunic with the clavi stripes woven in. So yeah,
Yes.
Chris,
Discord.
yeah,
Discord.
Discord. Chris, seriously, if you do a cosplay, like, come to Farpoint. Like, seriously, they'll coach you like in the best way and everything, and
Yeah.
like they will encourage you to continue to cosplay. Like, it's super super cool. Um, my wife and I are talking about doing a duo next year for Farpoint. Um, I'm not going to say what it is yet, but it is possibly in the works. It is Disney themed. That's all I'm gonna say.
See,
Ooh.
you said duo, and I said plot twist. Watch it be like the Duolingo bird.
It's actually just gonna. I don't know what it was gonna
You
be.
missed your
I've
Spanish
been
lessons.
Yeah,
looking.
Pulls out a knife.
yeah,
That's
I've
just
been
me.
trying to think of other cats to do.
yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying to
Well,
think of other cats. Speaking of other birds, I've been trying to think of other cats to do, and I'm
well,
realizing that if I'm going to keep this up, I need to do one new one every year, and it also needs to be a mashup.
You should do the
In
so
order,
Duolingo bird, but cat themed.
somebody
yeah, in order
also.
to enter as many different competitions and attend as many themed raves as possible, and it needs to combine as many different fandoms, mediums,
Yeah.
'cause, like
So
animation, theater, Broadway, and all that.
s-
Yeah.
somebody actually suggested to. I remember somebody at Farpoint actually suggested to you that you dress as the doctor from Lower Decks in your cat
Right,
costume.
and that's the thing.
Yes.
I've been
Yes.
thinking about that. I've never seen it, so maybe I'll need to. But my one thing with that one is that does the jacket open? Like, can you
The
see? Do you ever see the cat body underneath?
No,
Okay,
no, you
okay,
don't.
I think you do.
It's
okay,
pretty much. I don't think you do. It's pretty much the
okay,
medical uniform with the
okay.
jacket.
I'm
Um,
worried I would be able to make less to be judged, but if I
So
learn to
I'm
sew lab jackets, then maybe maybe I
Yeah.
it's
so
should do
I'm looking
that.
at it. I'm looking at it real quick. The jacket is open, but there's a Starfleet
yeah,
uniform underneath.
yeah.
So
Mm,
It's the typical medical blue.
okay,
Um,
right.
but it's like a lighter blue because
sure,
it's lower decks.
sure.
Um, but yeah, like that would be pretty cool. Like,
Yeah.
Matt, I just want to see more, honestly. Um, you know,
Aw,
So
I
yeah,
have a
so
Puss in Boots that I'm really proud of, but
I
I didn't
did see
make
your
the
Puss in
leather.
Boots.
Thank you. I didn't make any of the non-cat stuff. So the hat, anything that's not cat, I didn't make, and
Yeah.
it's a an iffy choice for contests for that reason. But sometimes it's enough of a crowd pleaser to push through. But I'm trying to look for cats where I can make all or
Yeah.
most of it.
you
So.
Uh,
you nailed the expression of the Cheshire cat in your competition.
yeah, you
That
Oh,
did.
that
You
was
really
yeah,
did.
fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was the MC's idea. I asked somebody beforehand, what should my description be? What should the script be? And she was like, oh, do anything. It doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Everything's flexible. And I was like, oh, great. And then the MC called me up, and Matt, you saw that. She was like, this is going to bore the heck out of the audience, right? And I was like, and yeah, if I had read if she had read what I had written, which was like a description of the quantity of yarns in the tale, I
I'm a
would have been.
reenactor. I feel your pain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Uh,
I
Yeah.
real
so I'm
quick,
very grateful I'm grateful to everyone involved for being so encouraging, but thanks to the MC for
yeah. The MC at Farpoint Masquerade is amazing. Real quick, Chris, both Matt and Alex are now in the Discord. Tell them your a cat's idea crossover in Discord. Like, I'm not calling anybody out or trying to be rude. It's just like,
We are
come on in. Like,
Yeah.
we are all crafty people here, and we
yeah.
Mhm.
love talking about our stuff. That's why we're all here. So
Yeah.
we're happy to offer pointers.
Um, So I do have a cosplay coming up for the Disney trip. I am going
Ooh.
to be Disney bounding my droid builder. Um,
Wow,
Yes.
fun.
yes, and then I'm bringing everybody's favorite war criminal with me.
Chopper.
Good. Good.
If you're unfamiliar with who this is Chopper. He's single-handedly responsible for over 50,000 deaths in the Star Wars universe.
One of the most
It's like
notorious
those
mass murdering droids of the Star Wars
Yeah.
universe.
like there was a meme on Twitter the other day, like a huge cat, like adorably stretching in a city, and then the
Mhm.
caption was like, "Thousands dead, body count rising."
Yeah,
Big
this would be
Yeah.
stretch.
that cat.
He's even got the orange to go with it.
Yeah, yeah.
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 If you ever watched Ahsoka during Hera's trial, somebody said something bad about Chopper, and Chopper almost killed a bitch. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yup.
Yeah.
Yup.
Carson Teva held him back. That's all I'm saying. He was like, "What, and then like
Yeah.
Teva's just
Bow,
like,
bow,
no, no,
No,
no,
no,
no,
no.
no. So yeah, like that's one that I have coming up, and then like I do want to do a High Republic Jedi at some point. Yeah, everybody loves that murder droid. How can you not love that murder
Yeah.
droid? But yeah, like I have some Star Wars costumes coming up. I want to do an X-Men one at some point too because of like the '97 series coming out. Which don't
Yeah.
mess that up, please. Um, anyway, let's go into the Dad Batch real quick. We won't get too spoilery because somebody here hasn't seen it yet. Which, oh, quick announcement. I did want to share this real quick. Starting Tuesday night around 9 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be doing a watch along, or we're going to do watch parties for the Bad Batch starting from season one and moving forward. So if you have actually not seen the Bad Batch and you're in our Discord community, join us. Like seriously, join us, hang out, have a good time. I think that you all would enjoy that. And then Wednesday nights, we're going to be doing the current season 3 episodes as well. Um, we're only 3 episodes into season 3 now, and we're going to be doing it just week by week as the episodes come out. I think like the 1 week that we'll probably miss will be the week I'm on vacation, but we'll double up the following week with 2 episodes. I believe it's a 16 episode season, right, Faye? Something like that.
Let me just double check that.
Yes. So yeah, and I'm not calling anybody out that has not seen the Bad Batch. I'm just
Eric, it's funny. I believe that my family just arrived at home, so I might take
okay.
you up on the offer to step out. But this was such a
Yeah.
joy. I joined the
Yes.
Discord a couple minutes ago, and
Yeah.
Chris has just put in his crossover idea, and
Yes.
and here I'll tell you, he had the idea of combining things from Marvel with specific Cats characters, which
Yes.
things
That's
I
right.
was
Iron
just about
Cat.
having existing other cat people in the cat style, but he had the idea of converting specific characters, which I had
Mhm.
not considered. So thank you very
Yeah.
much, Chris.
Yeah.
We'll be discussing further, but thank you again. This was so
Yeah.
wonderful. I appreciate
Yeah.
Thank you for joining
Um,
us.
I'm probably gonna shoot you an email tomorrow and stuff like that. But yeah, we'll talk.
Ooh,
We'll
what
talk.
about?
Uh,
What's the email
stuff.
about?
Um,
Okay. What
you,
did I do, man?
You
what
screwed
did
up.
you do?
We know what you did.
You're like the High Republic authors that have blood on their hands.
Oh man, I've been found out. I really should go. But
All right, Alex. Thank you once again, and we'll talk very soon. Thank you so
thank you
much.
so much. This was such a
Yes.
Thank you.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you again. Bye bye.
Yeah. I
Right.
got you. So yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's
So,
talk
Dad
Dad
Batch.
Batch.
Correction, 15 episodes.
Is it 15?
It's 15.
Okay. Because I remember the first 2 seasons were 16, I believe.
We have the titles at least for 15 episodes.
Okay. So let's get into it. Everybody's now saying goodbye to Alex.
Bye, Alex.
Chur from New Zealand. Hey, welcome, Chur from New Zealand. That's awesome.
Howdy.
believe you're the first New Zealander that we've had in here, I think. Possibly?
Maybe.
I don't know. I traveled over 2,400 miles this week between Baltimore and Dallas and back to Baltimore
So you're
for
saying
work.
you walked 500 miles and 500 more?
Get out.
You didn't tell me you were in DFW?
I flew into Love Field.
Oh, yeah.
I had to do a work thing,
That's
which
fair.
we'll talk about that later. But
Yeah.
yeah, I had to do a work thing
Hmm.
that anyway. But I should have hit you up. Anyway, Dad Batch. So we are now into season 3. It'd take you longer to come over here. Yeah, probably. So we're now in season 3. This is the third and final season of the show, and a lot happened last season. You're caught up, right, Matt?
Yes, I
Okay.
actually marathoned all 3 episodes before this live stream. So
Okay.
Same.
We lost our boy Tech, which
Mm,
we
Yeah.
gotta pour
Yeah.
one out for him.
F in the chat.
F in the
Yeah,
chat.
F
May
in
the
the
force be
chat.
with you.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
part of me was thinking that's why they gave him so many like character heavy episodes, like that way we could just build it up until the sacrifice.
Yeah.
I think that's why we're spending a lot more time with Crosshair this season too.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see it. I also think it might be like out of necessity because of the current plot with
Yeah.
with where Omega is currently, to
We can
where
talk spoilers now that Alex is in here.
I'm being careful. But yeah, with the
Alex, if you're watching, cover your ears.
yeah, with Omega currently being held in the lab, having Crosshair there as the only tie to the batch, I think
Yeah.
it's understandable why they're including him more,
Mhm.
purely because it's showing that Omega is reaching out to help for help
Yeah.
as like the closest thing to a trusted adult she has.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is a part of me, like the cinema brain in me is like, well, with Tech, we haven't seen a corpse, so there's a tiny chance maybe there's some kind of, Deus Ex Machina that'll bring him back to I
Yeah.
don't know, we'll see. But I
Yeah.
hear you. It's like the overall theme of season 3. I really like kind of the dark overtones, because it's like
Mhm.
it gets more intense with each season. You can really
Mhm.
feel the transition from Empire in Republic armor to like the Empire, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is just that's captivating.
So I want to go to Tech real quick because now I'm not doing any theories just yet. I honestly believe he's dead. Like honestly, I believe he's dead.
Like 90%, 90%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, Darth Maul did get cut in half and then like wore spider legs for like 12, 18 years. Anyway,
Darth Tarantula.
yeah, he was Darth Tarantula going crazy on a trash planet. Pretty much talking to
So accurate.
pretty much talking to Ka from the Jungle Book too. Do you think that steak actually did the trust in me thing? Like, do you think he actually did that to Maul?
Maybe.
It does make you
Yeah.
wonder.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Anyway, Tech. We see a character in some armor, like briefly, that I believe it's Omega catches a glimpse of, like kind of standing in the doorway. There's a theory now that that's Tech, and can we just speculate responsibly, please? Like,
Yeah.
can we
Mhm.
not jump to conclusions? And then people are like, "It's Snoke. It's Snoke. There's your Snoke theory."
I
Yeah.
understand why lots of fans really did enjoy Tech, so like they
Yeah.
want to see him come back. I for one am someone who's just like, we can let characters stay dead. It helps with the story sometimes. It
That's
helps with the
why.
story a lot.
That's why I'm curious to see. Spoiler alert. That's why I'm curious to see them bring Ventress back.
Mhm.
Yeah, like I'm happy because it does kind of get rid of the fridging in the Dark Disciple. However, I
Mhm.
do think that was kind of a that was a good end.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
Yeah.
it was a good end. So
it was kind of like how they
Yeah.
how like with Halo 4, how, and
Yeah.
spoilers if you've never played the Halo, the later Halo games, but um it's like with Halo 4 when they killed Cortana off, when
Yeah.
she was going rampant, and they gave her a very graceful farewell, and then seemed to set up Halo 5 to be like Locke chasing down a mentally broken chief because like he lost his girl,
Yeah.
and then they just kind of did like an Uno reverse, just kidding, and brought her back. Like, I think that actually hurt the story
Mhm.
more than it helped. So
yeah,
to Faye, your credit of like sometimes it's better if characters stay dead.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are because like Sam Jackson gave that interview in Empire recently about Mace Windu, and people are like, "Oh, is he dead?" And Sam Jackson's like, "No, I don't think he's dead." And I'm thinking, dude, you fell quite a bit, and you got your
yeah.
arm chopped off. Like, um, but then again, Darth Tarantula. Um, um,
I'm just
yeah,
considering the political situation in Coruscant at that time. I don't
yeah,
think he would have made it off planet. I think he
no,
could have possibly survived the fall. We've seen Jedi
yeah,
have the ability to slow down the fall and fall from great heights. However, it's
falls out
gonna
apart.
take it's gonna take a lot of stealthy work. I don't think Windu has in him
Yeah,
to get off that planet
and
alive.
and I'm sorry, Kelleran Beck is not saving Mace Windu. that's
No.
that's all I'm saying. Or as our buddy Cam likes to call him, Kelleran Barbecue. Um,
That's a spicy meatball.
I have to find that video on Cam's YouTube channel and post that in Discord again, or get Cam to post it again because it's great.
Yeah.
It was like the award winning it was like the award winning sauce like 8 years in a row for the Jedi Temple barbecue pork challenge or something like that. It was something so stupid. It was so dumb that I just started laughing. I was just like, "This is terrible," but I love it. Uh, gone off the rails again. Um,
Yep.
and I got to be up at 4 in the morning,
Oof,
for
rip.
work. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so like I let's keep the theories. Like, if you have a theory, that's cool, but like, let's see how it plays out because this could just be another fart in a suit, like Marok was in Ahsoka. And I hate to call it a fart in a suit, but that's literally what it was.
Which one was Marok again?
He
He
was
was
the helmeted guy. With
Yeah, he was the Inquisitor that they had
Oh, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
with Shin and Balin.
Okay, fart in a suit. I get
Yeah,
it now. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
because like Sabine cuts him open and it's just like, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, like,
Someone needs to video edit that with just an elongated fart noise.
I Cam's the one to do it. That's
Probably.
all I'm gonna say.
Although I will say though, Enoch, amazing costume. Like
Mhm.
if I were
Yeah,
if I were
Enoch
to
was
do a
pretty cool.
stormtrooper, just
Fart
that
suit.
that
Oh yeah.
costume is just
Yeah,
cool. Because I mean that's basically a Roman cavalry mask on his helmet, you know?
no, it
So
really is. A
yeah,
lot of Thrawn is like inspired by mythology and like
yeah.
Roman history and
Yeah.
stuff.
Hmm.
But so like I said, just keep that. So we have Omega. Omega is in Mount Tantus for 125 days. Like Lucasfilm
Mm.
has confirmed that she's there
Yeah.
for a very, very long time. Also, I'm digging the hair. I really
I
like the
love
long hair.
Hmm.
the little ponytail that she has is so cute.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's kind of like stylized after the other Doctor's ponytail.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have her, and then she's still trying to hold on to hope that she's going to get rescued, and she's trying to give Crosshair that hope. And I love seeing this broken Crosshair where he's
Hmm.
just like, why are you trying to give me hope? Like, we're in this
Yeah.
desperate situation.
And you can
Um,
tell
That's
the genetic experiments are messing with him too with that
oh, yeah,
handshake.
with the hand tremor and
yeah,
Yeah.
her line of "it's getting worse." I
yeah.
really like that the theme that they're pushing throughout this whole season so far has been like you don't leave each other behind.
Hmm.
Stick together. Our power is together.
Mhm.
That That is good.
Well,
It's defeating the big bad with the power of friendship and this gun they found.
but I mean that
That's
goes.
kind of what Star Wars is at its heart.
Yeah,
Really,
yeah.
yeah, it really is.
But that goes to 2 points. Like Rex never wanted to leave a man behind, which is why
Yeah.
he tried to go for Echo in the first place. In season 7 of Clone Wars,
Yeah.
which is when the Bad Batch was actually introduced. Um, and then another thing is, remember the end of Rise of Skywalker. Remember there are more of us, and
Yeah.
like you see all of the ships come in, including the Colossus, which I was so happy to see the Colossus and the Ghost, piloted by
Mhm.
Mom and Jason Sindula.
Yeah.
Um, but like, yeah, that you never leave a man behind. You
Mhm.
never leave somebody behind. And that's why like Omega is so determined to break Rex out, because Omega's also reliving that moment where, remember, Echo left for a while in season 2 to go with Rex and do like Black Ops missions, and
Yeah.
like Omega was wrecked by that. And
Mhm.
then she also just witnessed Tech die, like not even like 6 months later. I
Yeah.
mean, not even like 6 months ago. So like you're dealing with that, and or 4 months ago, I should say, if it's like over 120 days. But
Mhm.
it's one of those things where like Omega's so used to being left behind. She's so used to being left alone, and she has that line where she's been cooped up her entire life and she's ready to be free. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
What do you think about the clones that they picked up on that deserted planet? I feel like it's going to be a roll of the dice. Either they're going to be on the island, we won't see them for the rest of the series, or some plot device is going to happen where it's like they end up joining, maybe to replace Tech if Tech truly is dead. You know?
Um, I think go ahead, Faye. Go ahead, because I'd love to hear what you think first.
I I want to think that they're just gonna be on the island and left alone
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
they're children. And I think the line that they said about like we're cadets with no army. Here's your chance to go make choose your own path. Essentially, that
I-
that line is something that like in my hardest of hearts, I'm like that is always what I have wanted for the clones. I've wanted them to have agency, and a lot of stories have never really given them that.
Hmm.
I'm just like, yes, finally we're getting clones who are able to like become something other than soldiers, other than cut.
Yeah.
You could see a
And so
continuation of the theme of like that one clone that ran off and married the Twi'lek,
Yeah.
becoming
yeah,
one of
Cut.
her.
cut
Yeah.
Yeah.
McQueen.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm like, I'm really excited. I want them to create their own lives on the islands and get
Hmm.
to have like some semblance of a normal life. It's gonna be a shorter normal life because, to our knowledge, a lot of these clones are still undergoing that advanced aging.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be a life.
Mhm.
Well, I also feel like if they're gonna like if somebody on that I mean the entire island's gonna take them under their wing,
Yeah.
but I really feel like Fee's the one to do it. Like Fee's gonna be like, hey, I kind of need help, like procuring some goods. Like, you
Yeah.
guys want to come with? And she can have that bond that she never really fully got to have with Tech, but in like a more familial bond
Yeah.
instead of like a romantic bond, like they were trying to
Mhm.
do. Um, I I also want them to join the batch. Like I was thinking like they were gonna get like their own like small armor and stuff like that. Like I think that would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But
But
I see it as a coin toss. They're
yeah.
either going to join up, or they're not going to be there next episode. One of the
but
one of the two.
but
Yeah.
once again, this is Star Wars and not everybody gets a happy ending.
You're not wrong.
Don't put that on the little kids.
No.
I can have
Master Skywalker, there's too many of them. What are we gonna do?
no.
I'm done. I'm sorry, Faye. I'm sorry I broke you. I'm done.
I still like to maintain hope despite being traumatized by falling in love with your Mally over 2 chapters and immediately having to read her death. But like,
Yeah. Well, a lot of people are like, "Oh, the Young Jedi Adventures series." A lot of people are like, "Oh yeah, this is about young Jedi," and they're like, "What's it gonna do? End with Anakin like butchering them all?" And I'm like, "Thank God this is in the High Republic era. They don't have to deal with that."
like the one thing
Yeah.
I will say about Star Wars fandom is, can we stop making the dead kid jokes,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
please?
Um,
Well,
yeah.
go ahead,
Any,
Eric.
anyway, um, sorry, I got a soccer update for a second. Sorry. Um, anyway,
Well,
um,
the swamp vine thingies.
yeah.
Oh yes,
Was that a mutated Sarlacc pit?
it
Because it looked like a mutated Sarlacc
it
pit.
kind of did.
Yeah.
I'm thinking because well, the thing is like the Sarlacc isn't native to just Tatooine. Like I
Right.
Yeah.
believe is it the Galaxy's Edge comic explains that, like when Han and Chewie have to grab the baby Sarlacc for Doc Ondar
Hmm.
when Hondo brokers it. Um yeah, so I don't believe they're native to Tatooine. I think like they but also like it seemed like a cross between a Diagnoga and a Sarlacc pit at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, and like a little bit of Drengir vibes. That was the first thing I was thinking of
Oh, I was thinking that too.
when I saw the
Yeah.
line "Don't touch the vines." I was like,
Hmm.
I was wondering if we were going to get the High Republic Drengir. I thought that that would have been amazing. For those of you that don't know what the Drengir is, they're dark side sentient plants that eat people,
yeah,
Okay.
and they
So
refer to everybody as meat.
yes,
It's amazing.
so Venus flytrap crossbred with Game of Thrones. Got it.
Meets Little Shop
essentially,
of Horrors.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're deranged little shops of horrors plants. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's ultimately what they are.
Yeah, yeah, that's steeped in the
Yeah.
dark side. But I was hoping that it was gonna be the Drengir. Like I was really hoping like they
Hmm.
Yeah.
would make that connection. Because we've had a lot of like High Republic connections lately. Oh no!
Ah! Did we lose
Faye!
Faye?
Yeah,
Faye! Oh no!
Faye! No!
Faye!
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 The last 15 minutes of us just gonna be going Faye, Faye,
Faye!
Faye.
Faye! BRB, technical difficulty. Okay.
I'm an IT tech. Have you tried turning the computer off and back on again?
uh, anyway,
Yeah,
um,
moving on. I'm not
yeah.
going to talk about my day job.
There she is. Or there they are. Sorry. I'm sorry
Sorry.
if no, no, it's fine. I'm also
Hey,
sorry
No,
if I
I hit something and I was like, oh no, I'm gone.
we were doing the Metal Gear Solid Snake thing for
we're
a
just
little
like
bit. We're like,
Faye.
"Hey!" And I'm also sorry if I misused your pronouns just for a second. I am so
It's
sorry.
okay.
But yeah, so I was really hoping that we were going to get the Drengir thing. That would have been pretty cool. I was also hoping that was going to be the episode where we see Wrecker fight the alligator thing from the trailer.
Yeah, but
Because
Yeah.
go
we're
ahead.
gonna see more. We're gonna see more.
Yeah,
You know, there are a
Mhm.
bunch of apparently strange monsters out in those their woods.
because like part of me was thinking, oh, this is the fight I've been clamoring for, like Wrecker just versus a giant monster. Like, let's go. Like,
Like
and
Star Wars Steve Irwin, you know?
yes.
Yeah.
And then Wreckers just like grab all of the explosives and they blow it up.
He has his brain is so full of explosives. I love him.
And you know what?
Kind of threw back to Atlantis, Milo,
Oh,
or not Milo. The who's the
oh,
explosives guy?
it was
Oh
the Russian guy.
no,
I thought he was Italian.
Was
he's
he Italian?
Italian.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Sorry,
Yeah,
I was thinking that that he was Russian. Yeah, the Italian guy. Yeah, I love that guy. He's great. He's like, hey, blow it up, like.
yeah, obviously.
But that's why I love Wrecker so much. Like Wrecker is my spirit animal from the Bad Batch because like I'm just as crazy and psychotic as that dude. Like I'm just like maybe we should blow it up. Like
A little explosion never hurt anybody.
explosions make everything better. Just ask Michael Bay.
No, what's the line from Atlantis? There's no problem that can't be solved without proper application of high explosives.
Exactly,
No.
exactly. I beg everybody to watch the Michael Bay Robot Chicken sketch. That's like all just a bunch of
Michael Bay.
explosions. Michael Bay explosions, blah blah bloom. It's like babies being blown up and like bridges and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great. I'll send you the link, Faye. You'll love it. Um, anyway, yeah, explosions make everything better. Um, but I think it was really interesting to see the contrast between um Omega's episode with Wrecker and then the second episode which focused on Hunter and Omega with Crosshair and then
Yeah.
Hunter and Wrecker with the clones.
Mhm.
Because like you really needed to see the opposite sides of that coin. You really needed
Yeah.
to see um like what Omega was going through, what Crosshair was going through, and then the desperation that they all have. Like that's one thing like this season has encapsulated so well is just the desperation that that batch has to be reunited with each other.
It,
Um, Go ahead.
it's really great to see. And I thought it was really great seeing Wrecker kind of being like the emotional grounding
Hmm.
for Hunter.
Yeah.
Because Hunter
Yeah.
is not making great decisions. Let's
No,
be
No.
honest about that.
no, he's not. He's not.
Hunter's a little unhinged at the moment.
Hunter feels a lot like Anakin Skywalker, just like wearing his emotions on his sleeves at the moment
Hmm.
and like
Yeah.
just going through it. Hunter also reminds me, Faye, of Elzar a lot, like just
A little
unhinged
bit.
and just like, yeah, no, I did
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Elzar Mann is a great High Republic character who has a walk of shame during a fight. It's amazing.
A walk of shame.
He
Yes. This planet gets attacked and he's doing the walk of shame and then has to fight his way to safety. It's amazing.
and then flies a dragon.
Scary. Yes, and throws a lightsaber, by the way.
Yes. You know, all
And pulls
perfectly
an island
valid
down.
techniques, you
And
know?
pulls a floating island down from the sky using the force. It's great.
Yeah. Elzar's our little disaster baby.
I love Elzar. He is like walking chaos incarnate, and it's amazing. Yeah. How did Matt get into my living room as Scarab? Uh,
I'm sorry. I kept crit failing on my stealth roll.
Matt, you're in Chicago with Roe? Like, what?
Hey, man! It was a really long commute to get from Maryland to there. You know, it was just.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
But I do like how unhinged Hunter is and how like Wrecker has to bring
Oh
him
yeah.
back.
Oh, it
Um,
is great to see.
Similar how like kind of like what Crosshair's doing with Omega, because like Omega's kind of becoming unhinged. And then
Right.
like Crosshair's kind of like, no, you got to dial it back just a little bit here.
Mhm.
It's
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
It's interesting seeing the changing dynamics. You
Hmm.
know, because it's challenging those characters to develop beyond kind
Hmm.
of the archetypes of what they've traditionally been throughout the series.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what's making this season of Dad Batch so good.
Hmm.
Is just
You called it Bad Batch. I love it.
I did, yeah. Of we'll think of another name for it at some point. But
18 in space.
yeah, right. Um, but I think that
Thanks, bro.
the I think just the fact that they're being forced outside their comfort zones and in a
Hmm.
really kind of like extreme but intense
Hmm.
way
Mhm.
is what's making it so good.
And to see like Hunter and Wrecker not have that safe haven of the island, like they've been scouring for like 125 days to try to get Omega back,
Right?
is like one
Yeah.
of those things that like you can just tell like both of them are just like both Hunter and Wrecker are so just emotionally exhausted, physically exhausted,
Hmm.
mentally exhausted. Like
Yeah.
they want their family back. um and you can really see Hunter like struggling with the failure of leadership, essentially. Like
Yeah.
he failed as a leader. He got a squad mate killed and then he got another squad mate captured. I still don't forgive Saw Gerrera for what he did, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Um, but I understand because that lends more to Saw's character when we see him
Yeah.
in Rogue One. Um,
Saw Gerrera is, I'm glad you brought him up because
mhm,
Saw Gerrera is just such a fascinating addition to the
mhm,
rebellion,
Oh
because
yeah.
it's
yeah.
like he is the stereotype that the Empire uses against the entirety of the rebellion. And
Mhm,
Mhm.
like, the you know those of us that had the original series and then watched the prequel trilogies were used to kind of like the rebellion being kind of just the blue green lightsabered good guys and the empire being just the
mhm,
cartoon supervillains, and like having Saw Gerrera, who is quite literally like a straight up terrorist among the
mhm,
rebel ranks, but they're forced to deal with him because like
mhm.
he can get stuff done. I love seeing that graying of the sides.
It's
And
really good.
that's what Andor did really, really well.
Hmm.
Like that's
Yes.
what Andor did really well. Also, hot damn Kiner's music. Oh my God, the Kiners.
Yeah.
Oh, all three of them. The Kiner siblings are amazing with their music. Like they are so damn good. They are so damn good. Um, Also, I love that Bad Batch theme. I was humming it all day today. Um,
Yeah.
and I love The Empire Never Saw Him Coming. God damn it.
Yeah.
This is like the live stream that I opened up the vintage card packs all over again with the bad jokes. Oh.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
warning you now, if you ever friend me on Facebook, I've literally spent years tailoring my algorithm to take over news feeds with dad jokes.
Thank
So,
God.
you know,
Okay.
I'm one of
Um,
those.
Oh, good.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, like seeing that desperation and then like seeing them try to find each other. Like also, if you look at it, Hemlock is very desperate too. Like
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
everybody is very desperate. Like Palpatine's desperate because he wants that clone, and we see where that's going.
Right.
Yeah.
Hemlock's desperate because he doesn't want to fail Palpatine because he's this renowned scientist. Yeah,
And he really wants that job promotion. He wants to be the minister of science.
Yep. Yep.
he reminds me of Krennic a little bit.
I think that's the point. We're
I
Yeah,
think
supposed to be reminded of Krennic.
it's
yeah,
like if Krennic were competent.
yeah. Yeah, and can I tell you, I love Hemlock as a villain.
Yeah.
He's such a great
Yes.
villain,
Yeah, he's got the whole like evil scientist vibe going on, and it's just
Mhm.
like
but he's also kind of justified in what he does.
I can see where it's like,
He's
from
kind of yeah. I mean,
it,
in his perspective, he's
yeah,
justified in what he does.
But
it's one of those. Good.
it's you're never the villain in your personal story. So
Exactly.
it's one of those from another point of view
I'm a race
things.
car driver in mine, and I'm on lap 500. Just made another left turn. Okay. Um, anyway, but no, it is one of those things, and I love seeing his desperation. I love seeing
Mm,
Nala Say's desperation too, because
yeah.
she's trying to get Omega out. She's trying
Yeah.
to also like make sure Omega is safe. Um, okay, so I did say something about speculation. Okay, one of the things that they mentioned in Clone Wars, and they kind of harkened back to in Bad Batch, is the degradation of the clone DNA due to Jango Fett. And they
Hmm.
said because Jango wasn't alive anymore, his DNA is done. Boba's like on the lam, so like you can't capture Boba Fett for a
Yeah.
perfect DNA strand. Omega's the other one, but they also said they had other DNA samples mixed in with Jango's DNA to complete the clones. We now know there's an M count, which we all know is metachlorian count,
Yep.
if you're paying attention. I'm going to throw this out there right now. Omega has Anakin Skywalker's DNA.
Hmm.
The thick plottins.
Maybe not. I don't know if it necessarily would be Anakin's. There's some sort of force sensitive DNA in there.
Yeah.
And we don't know the source yet. We will find out.
Yeah.
I mean,
'Cause-
yeah, we're gonna find out, but
Mm.
that's my speculation.
You know,
Yeah.
I could kind of see that because like the Emperor wanted to the Emperor
Ro,
like
I
the
will
Emperor
do what I'm damn well pleased.
Like, we did
getting called
early
out for your
on.
book collection.
That's
We did
DVDs and
early
shit.
on see a lot of theories, like even from the beginning, about
Mhm.
Omega actually being a Palpatine clone. So it could be Palp.
That would
We-
be
We touched on that quite a bit, actually, especially in that mid-season where Omega asks Tech like what the war is like, and like you see her mannerisms like with her hands behind her back, like
Mhm.
Palpatine would do.
mhm.
Now
Would
some
be-
people are saying that she's Snoke because of the whole head thing.
the whole head thing. Wait, I didn't hear
She
this.
was wearing like the jewel on the head, like in season 1 and like part of season 2, I believe.
Mhm.
And then like people are like, "Oh, Snoke's got the dent on his head." Like,
If they straight up like end Bad Batch with like turning Omega into Snoke, I will riot. Like,
Same.
I'm just over here like
yeah,
what?
there we go.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm curious to see whose DNA it is. And it ends on a cliffhanger because well, I mean, Omega and Crosshair escape, and now Hemlock's like, we need to find them and bring them back safely.
Mhm.
So I'm curious to see whose DNA it is. It's probably like if they didn't go with a known Jedi, I'm thinking it's probably going to be like a very unknown Jedi that we don't really know too much about.
You know,
Um,
Yeah.
the Anakin theory, it kind of, you know, it the first time you hear it, it starts off as like question mark, but the more you kind of think about it, the more interesting it becomes because he was the chosen one, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, Palpatine has a vested interest in clones because, you know, he
Yeah.
Go ahead, Faye. You sound like you're
Like I'm thinking about it. Reasonably, it should be someone that they have easy access to get more DNA from,
Mhm.
because of those experiments are still ongoing. They're still adding something to those samples,
Mhm.
and so they want to. It should be someone that they have access to. So, like, as much as that theory did go around, it's probably not Palpatine. Anakin is likely because Vader.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was
Right.
just about to say
But
that.
then we've got like Grogu. Grogu is the appropriate age.
Yeah,
It's
and
true.
Ro actually just brought that question up in chat where he's like, "What if she has Grogu DNA and she's just a host?" That's true too.
Ooh.
Or
Ooh.
it could be Yaddle's DNA, it could be Yoda's DNA, it could be Kiadi Mundi's DNA, like it could be
Yeah.
anybody's DNA. It could be
Mhm.
our boy Oppo Rancis's DNA. Random Jedi that I just pulled out of my butt. Jarl
Definitely not.
Proof.
I'm a Gundai.
Yeah. Genes guy DNA.
Genes
There
guy
we go.
DNA. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the Genes guy. From,
I think it was probably that one Devil Horns dude from Mos Eisley Cantina, personally.
yeah. It's actually Ponda Baba. It's his
Okay.
DNA, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe the Sarlacc from Tatooine.
Yeah, there we go. It's
There
actually
we go. We
Hondo.
got
It's actually Hondo Onaka's DNA.
Hondo is actually the greatest Jedi of his age.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait,
Exactly.
this is how they tie in Darth Jar Jar.
Yeah, Darth Jar Jar. Yeah. It's actually he just walks in and he goes, "It was Misa the whole time." On that note,
Alice just read us a shirt.
between the Shrek Revenge of the Sith and Darth Jar Jar, like we've hit every single low point this evening. Like, Welcome back to the live show, everybody. Here we
Welcome
are.
back.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the live
Here we
show.
go,
Rest in
here we
peace, your
go.
brain cells.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, get ready for more dumb fun with Eric and company.
Ah,
God. Well, that was like just we're gonna wrap things up here in a minute, but like speaking of the joke, that was like when we were talking about the Star Cruiser, like when they first announced the price, and we're like, for that amount of money, MC Jar Jar like better be the entertainment, like rapping and like all this other crap like on the Star Cruiser. And it's like, Mr. Say a hip hop, a hippity, a hippity. It's like, really? Um
that would be amazing.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
R.I.P. Star Cruiser.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
I'll see it or what's left of it when I go back when I go down in a couple of weeks. Um
Well, hey,
yeah,
maybe you can help salvage it in exchange for portions.
1/4 portion of Toronto wrap. Can I salvage this bed for a drink at Oga's, please?
We give you one space muffin. Just add water.
This is one Ronto wrap tip. That's it. They give you just a little bit of blue milk, like in a tiny little shot
Right.
glass.
Maybe
It's like a
just they,
thimble.
Yeah, it's like a
they
little thimble.
they just give you the wrapper, you know.
Yeah.
They give me one kernel of Outpost mix.
Yeah, right.
This is your portion of Ronto wrap. Use it wisely.
A single noodle of space
Hope-
ramen, you know.
Hopefully,
Space
hope you're
ramen's a
not.
thing thanks to Android.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so is like space cereal, like fruity pebbles, like
Yep.
or Cocoa Puffs or whatever the hell he was eating with his mom, who was just gaslighting the hell out of him. Um,
I love how mean his mom is to him.
his mom is
Mhm.
such an ass to him.
Right?
He's like, Mom, God, I'm trying to eat my breakfast. Did you get your job today? Damn it, Mom.
Damn it, Mom. This economy's tough. I'm
God.
sorry.
Got the hots for this Imperial ISB girl. Doing data collection. And now I'm living in the basement with my mom, eating cereal.
You know
Damn it, Mom.
that he turns into a basement dweller, just like creeping on the ISP thing. Like I was just like,
He's probably like that.
it's a meme. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's probably like that nerd character from Key and Peele that like ordered like 8 pizzas, but it was only for him. But like he kept like calling out his collectibles by name. He's like, Legolas, Aragorn, you guys want some Funyuns? Like he's just got like a shrine to Jar Jar or whatever. He's like, damn it, Mom, I'm talking to Jar Jar.
He's such a bullyable character.
He really is.
he really is. You know, he
Uh,
thinks he can do field, and then
yeah.
the operation literally blows up in his face.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
God, yeah, I got this.
Mhm.
No.
No, no,
Anyway.
he doesn't.
Yep.
You can think of just welcome to the fun, everybody. We're back
Yeah,
for a
we're
while,
back.
so yeah,
We're back.
we're back. It's not a dinosaur story this time. 90s reference.
Aha.
The 90s were this wonderful era towards the end of the last century.
Let's say we're gonna start talking about the podcast before time. Mentioning dinosaurs.
Yeah, that's what this is becoming. Anyway, we've gone over 2 hours. I am so sorry we took so long this evening.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
lot of fun. I'm gonna be back next week. We're gonna talk more Bad Batch. We're gonna talk about whatever. I don't know. I'll figure out notes.
Yeah.
If not, I'm just gonna wing it. Faye, I guess you'll be back soon.
I will be back next week, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
would you like to have like a candlelit dinner like beforehand or something?
Spend an hour beforehand. I'll just info dump about medieval table manners, like in my last class.
Tell me about your thoughts and feelings.
Requirement is MC Jar Jar is the host.
Yeah.
Obviously.
No, Stevie Palps is actually going to be the host next week. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Wait till you meet Stevie Palps, Matt. You're gonna love him.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
gonna be fun.
Oh
He's
yeah.
an
Yeah.
icon.
He is.
I
He is an
needed to
icon.
know.
Hmm.
My Sword family watched the last High Republic episode, and the only thing that they continuously quote back at me is, "So, have you heard of jizz?"
Have
When
you
I
heard of
first
jizz?
heard that was what they were calling it, I was over
No.
here like, they knew
Have
they
you?
had to have known what they were doing.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Have you heard of jizz? Hmm? Eh? Eh? It's good music. That's all I'm gonna say.
I traumatized the chiss with
You-
jizz.
Oh my God, that's right, you did. Because the Chiss
Wait,
was
what?
like, oh, so we had them go to the Chiss Ascendancy in this High Republic RPG real
No.
quick before we end for the evening,
Yeah.
and like Faye's character, like I was playing the Chiss character because I was like all the NPCs, and I believe
Mhm.
like Stevie Palps was with them too, and like Faye just goes. Because they were talking about a cultural exchange, and Faye goes, "Have
And
you heard about jizz music?" And like, the Chiss is like, "What the fuck is that?" Like,
important context, I am not a talky character.
no,
I,
you
I'm
really
a nerd.
are. She is. I mean,
I want to know how they got that
Faye's
approved.
Faye's character is like the least talkative character you'll ever meet in this thing, and Faye awkward turtles the hell out of this conversation. And,
My greatest acting yet.
and part of me is like, let's roll with this and see what happens. Like, I mean,
Wow.
All
we
of our
did
talky
have
people weren't there, and so
no,
Paris is just like,
yeah, because
I'm
we
here as
sent
a linguist.
because we sent Aiden off with Jedi Master Dan, who may or may not be an alcoholic. And this is not making fun of people that struggle with that. Like seriously, if you
Yeah.
struggle with that, like seriously, like and you're seeking help, that's awesome. But Dan has been in Jedi Master rehab for a while. He threw a chair at Master Yoda during a council meeting because he was tired of the way Yoda was talking. Dan took it upon himself to throw a chair.
And here comes a Jedi Master with a steel chair.
Yeah, pretty much.
That was
Meanwhile,
the girl from Coruscant.
oh my God. Meanwhile, Kaylin, who's playing Anduin or Aiden, I'm watching their reaction, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, how am I gonna convince Kaylin to like keep playing this damn game? Because like Kaylin was shocked at the stuff that I was throwing at them with Jedi Master Dan. Like Kaylin's like, "Oh, what's my Jedi Master's name?" I'm like, "I don't know, Dan." Like, like we just went from there, and
Yeah.
like I've had Dan sober up and meet Aiden on Batu, and like they're having a wonderful time,
Yeah.
like talking and communing with the Force. However, it took Dan a while to get there,
And it took us having a bar fight.
and it did take a bar fight with Bismo Funyuns.
Yes.
And I
Bismo
took
Funyuns?
I took a bunch of names from the Key and Peele East West
Yeah.
football sketch. And like I had like Splendiferous Finch, Bismo Funyuns, Marquis Parakeet Shoes, I think was
A
one of
whole
them.
list.
Yeah, it was so dumb. I had one one of the chiss that they meet in the
His name's
bar
Fanta.
was Fanta. The other one was named after Ted Lasso. He was Mythed Lasso.
Yes.
Um, like,
Which,
and I
which
gave
it
him a
works.
southern accent too.
I love it.
I was like,
I'm
"Howdy,
just, I'm
y'all. We're
just,
from the Chiss Ascendancy."
just imagining combining Thrawn's accent with like a deep Southern drawl, and
Oh
just
yeah,
so
Oh,
good.
yeah,
It's good.
yeah. And I'll tell you another thing. It is not for kids because we cuss up a storm in this thing. It's
Mhm.
mostly me.
Yeah, I
Um,
I just send drunk texts to people.
you do send drunk texts to people, which we're
Just
gonna get to that very soon, by the way, Faye.
oh no.
Faye's character is about to have a close encounter. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh dear.
Oh yeah.
It's in it this way. Yeah, like two of the characters are like a pilot combo, and like one of them like William missed his navigation roll, so I made him lost for like 3 weeks, like going to Batu.
He's still lost.
Meanwhile, he's still lost. Meanwhile, his partner is like has like this like Apple Watch that like controls like various systems in the ship. So she's like making it like he's like taking a shower. She's like making it like super hot or super cold like simultaneously. Like she's just straight up torturing this dude. Like while he's lost in space. It's great.
That's
Oh
fantastic. That
yeah.
sounds like an amazing RPG.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
it's
So
fun.
get ready for more. Anyway, we've gone way over.
We
Um
have.
so that's it for us this evening. May the force be with you. May you always fight for light and life. And just remember, at the end of the day, everybody, we are all the Republic. We will be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. For those of you that know about that. Um, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm being ageist right now. I'm so sorry. I'm actually not, but you know.
You're not.
Um,
I got you. Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, that's it. We're done. We'll
All
see
right.
you later.
Good
Goodbye.
night.
Good
Have a
night.
good night.